we have to avoid two extremes when we teach our members and our young people. One extreme is to say, since going in that direction is sin, don't go in that direction at all. And we keep them so far away from the fence. And we keep them so far away from the fence that it becomes a kind of a unreasonable restriction that they're going to break through anyhow because we got them cooped up too much. And then there's the other extreme, which is equally dangerous, where we don't give them any boundaries, any guidelines, and they're walking on the edge of the precipice and nobody says anything. You know, it's very difficult to know exactly where to draw the lines to help our members and to help our young people to be safe, but not put them under a legalistic bondage for something that's really not a sin. And I think that's a delicate matter where pastoral wisdom is needed from above to know how to guide people. And it will vary from one church to another, from one young person to another, you know, as we advise them and be spiritual mentors to our people. And of course, we need to. We have an unrealistic conception of what it means to be holy, and an unrealistic conception about what it was like for Jesus to be holy. And then we're trying to live up to this ideal that's all in our heads. And God is not asking us for all of that. You know? We don't have time to go further into that today, but maybe we'll pick up some of those themes tomorrow. Watch that for ourselves as well. I think often, but it's something I think about. You know? One of the ways I illustrate this, and tell me what you think, because I don't have to be right on all these details, but one of the ways I illustrate this when I'm talking to young people, I say, can you imagine Jesus at the party thrown by Simon the Pharisee? Who was a leper, Simon the leper. Number one, some Adventists can't imagine him at a party. They prefer, oh, he was at a feast, but don't call it a party. Well, it was a party. You see, Jesus went to parties. But that doesn't mean we must tell our young people they must go out to the nightclub. You know, but it's a delicate thing, how to help them process that. But let's take this further. Can you imagine now, Jesus is at the party, and there's a sumptuous feast outlined there, and Jesus is eating and drinking and talking and fellowshipping with the others. And then there comes a point where Jesus has had enough to eat. I'm talking about temperance now, you know, it's this delicate issue in Adventism, diet and temperance and health reform. So Jesus has come to the place where he has had enough to eat. But he's so busy sharing his faith with the people around the table that in his humanity, having already had enough to eat, he reaches out for another grape without even happening to Jesus. You know? And some of us have in mind, our picture of Jesus is, well, Jesus was absolutely sinless, so he would not even unconsciously reach out for another grape and then have to pull his hand back. Jesus could never experience something like that. And now, many people have developed a theology that we must be like that too, if we're really like Jesus. So if you're at the table, you've already decided that you had enough to eat, but in talking about even the Bible, you get a little distracted and your hand just goes out for another grape, and you find the grape in your hand, then, oh, horror, bad is me. I have to cut off my hand because what a great sin. I'm tempted to eat another grape. And now you haven't even eaten it, but you're confessing sin. You know, that's kind of where I was as a young person, what I call that guilt trip. And as I said, I was delivered from that by Ellen White's comment that says, look, guilt is a poisonous emotion. God doesn't want you to be beating up on yourself because you picked up the grape and thought about eating it. Up a grape and thought about eating it and then thought better of it and said, no, I've had enough, and put it down. Or would that be compromising his sinlessness? You know, I throw things like that out to people to at least stir up their minds and get them thinking about what is it that we really believe about Jesus. And in what sense is he confessed, Lord, forgive me for picking up the grape, our standard and our example. And in what sense was he tempted like we are, yet without sin? Where do you draw that line, you know, of tempted like as we are, yet without sin? And of course, we don't know how to do it. But the Holy Spirit can help us to at least be in the right ballpark. or too libertarian, so that we end up thinking about it. Can you imagine that falling into sin when we ought not to? Any further follow-up on that? I know we just got seconds before we have to stop, but those are some thoughts. But I agree with the position you were taking. And not be too legalistic on that matter.
I think one of the greatest signs that we're headed for trouble is